Hello again, Bev. We are here to discuss more winning strategies, the things that we can do in our relationship to help us be connected and collaborative and have a thriving partnership. We already talked about the first winning strategy, which was advocating for what you want. Now we're going to talk about the second winning strategy, speak to make things better. So we're speaking to help something be more productive instead of digging ourselves into a deeper hole of disconnection or escalated conflict. So what are some of the strategies that we can use to speak to make things better? Tell us a little bit about that.
So last time we spoke a little bit about being more assertive on the front end and less resentful on the back end, which really means in essence to ask clearly for what you want. So very often we might speak in complaints. You never, you always, why do I always have to? And very often underneath that is simply a request which we can make clearly for what we want. And this is where the magic is. Very often I've discovered that our partners are so happy to do it for us, but they just don't know always what it is we want. And we can just speak a little bit more clearly and ask without a tone.
Yes, making that request instead of a complaint. I find that I have to remember that frequently. It's easier to speak from complaint. It's less vulnerable. It's kind of more passive. It's more dropping hints. And like you said, always working on being more assertive.
I love that emphasis that you made on being passive. So often we think, this is the relationship I'm in. There's nothing I can do. And yet there is so much. A relationship isn't just something you have. It's really a minute-to-minute interaction.
And the other part of speaking to make things better is how you speak, not just making a request instead of a complaint, but being thoughtful in your word choices. So how can we be more thoughtful in our word choices to speak to make things better?
That's so key to that the relational mindfulness piece. To take that pause, and it's not easy, but instead of that usual knee-jerk reaction and what you normally say is to take that pause and say, how can I say this in a way that I'll be heard? And for many of us, we think if I just increase my tone, I'll be heard. But actually that word choice is critical. Speaking from the I, my side of the street.
Yes. If we tend to amp up our emotional reactivity or our volume or the intensity of our words to be heard, that's rarely effective. The other person then shuts down and puts their walls up. Yes, absolutely. Really thinking, filtering, taking time. Speaking to make things better, I think requires a lot of slowing down. Like you said, taking a pause before we ever speak. Why am I saying this? How can I say it better? How can I approach this? How can I speak? So that's so important and something we can all practice all the time in all of our relationships.
The idea is to get what we want, as well as to give our partners what they want, and then to cherish that deeper connection that healthy giving and taking bring, because when we get on better, that's when we enjoy each other more.
Beautiful, beautiful. And there are some specific kind of formats and templates you can use when you speak to bring up a concern or to repair. One that we might talk about on another day is the feedback wheel. But there are these relational technologies, templates that you can use to help you, because if we're just doing it off the cuff, we may not do it. We may not speak to make things better. We might speak to make it worse. So those are some other tips. Any other thoughts before we go?
Just I love what you just said, because we think that it comes naturally to us, but we often aren't taught. And learning these techniques really, really goes a long way.
Absolutely. For all of us, myself included, I have to practice speaking to make things better all of the time. Thank you, Bev.